They say the suburbs are safe. The streets are quiet, the lawns are trimmed, and the streetlights cast a golden glow on houses that all look the same. It's the dream. So many chaste, peaceful neighborhoods, friendly faces, the smell of barbecues on a Sunday afternoon. But what if that calm hides something else? What if behind those perfect white fences lies something sinister, something quietly watching, waiting? Tonight we step into the shadows of suburbia, where the real monsters don't crawl out of swamps or emerge from the woods. They live next door, smile when they see you, and wave as you pass by. In these neighborhoods, evil doesn't roar. It whispers, it smiles politely. It borrows sugar. It asks about your day. But when night falls and the curtains close, some people learn that the things they trusted most were the very things that would betray them. These are 3 disturbing true suburban horror stories, chilling tales that reveal what happens when innocence meets darkness, when faith in the familiar turns into a fight for survival, and through the fear, the confusion, and the heartbreak, we uncover something far greater: strength, courage, and a reminder that light always finds its way back, even in the darkest corners of home. In 2009, in a quiet cul-de-sac just outside Denver, the Hanleys moved in. They were the perfect family, a husband, wife, and teenage son, always polite, always present at neighborhood gatherings. They hosted barbecues in the summer, handed out candy on Halloween, and sent out Christmas cards with cheerful family photos. People trusted them instantly. They were the kind of neighbors everyone wanted. But as time went by, strange things began to happen. Packages vanished from porches. Garden tools went missing. Some nights, people swore they saw a shadow moving between homes long after midnight. At first, it was brushed off as raccoons or mischievous teens. The Hanleys were always the first to help search, always the first to reassure everyone that it was nothing serious. But the truth was far more chilling. One night, a man across the street installed a Motion-activated security camera after his garage door kept opening on its own. What he found sent shivers through the entire neighborhood. There, in the grainy footage, was the Hanleys' teenage son, creeping into his neighbor's yard, his eyes darting to the camera, a twisted smile on his face. Behind him, standing at the edge of the driveway, were his parents, watching, approving. When police searched their home, what they discovered was worse than anyone could have imagined. In their basement were boxes filled with photos, every family in the neighborhood, captured as they slept. Small personal items were displayed like trophies. They didn't steal for money. They took things that belonged to others, pieces of their lives, pieces of their safety. The Hanleys were obsessed with control. A quiet, hidden dominance, disguised as friendship. And what this story teaches us is unsettling but necessary. Trust is sacred, but not blind. The people around us may wear smiles, but not all smiles are kind. In our eagerness to see good in everyone, we sometimes close our eyes to warning signs that whisper in the dark. The Hanleys' neighbors weren't foolish. They were hopeful. They believed the lie that evil announces itself with a snarl or a scream. But the truth is quieter. Evil is patient. It adapts. It fits in. In life, this story stretches beyond fences and doorbells. It reminds us to love people deeply, but not foolishly, to give our hearts freely, but keep our eyes open. Because kindness without caution is like walking barefoot through broken glass. You may not see the danger until it's too late. The most haunting horrors in this world aren't ghosts or monsters. They re the ones that smile at us from across the street, asking how our day's been. So trust, but listen to your intuition. That voice that trembles softly inside you, warning you when something feels off, is not fear, it's wisdom. It's your soul's way of protecting itself. And that's the most terrifying truth of all. Evil hides in plain sight, but awareness, courage, and faith in your own instincts can pierce through any disguise. There was another story, one that still chills the quiet corners of Illinois. In 1996, a woman named Marcy lived alone in a new development on the edge of town. She had just divorced her husband and was ready for a fresh start. New home, new life, new peace. But as nights grew longer, she began hearing something strange. Footsteps above her ceiling, soft at first, like someone walking carefully on the roof, then heavier, louder. She called the police several times, but every time they searched, they found nothing. They told her it was squirrels, maybe a loose branch scraping against the shingles. She tried to believe them, but one night, when the sound came again, she heard breathing, slow, controlled. She could feel it through the ceiling, the weight of someone alive, someone real. She fled the house in panic and called for help. When police arrived and searched more thoroughly, what they found made her collapse in tears. Her ex-boyfriend had been living in her attic for weeks. He had carved a small hole in the ceiling to watch her sleep. He had been stealing food, using her electricity, and waiting for the moment she let her guard down completely. Marcy moved away, shaken but alive. Fear saved her life. People often say fear is weakness, but that's not true. Fear is the body's alarm system, a sacred signal that something isn't right. It doesn't make you fragile. It makes you human. Sometimes fear whispers before the truth screams, and listening to that whisper can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Fear, when understood, becomes your greatest teacher. It sharpens your senses, makes you aware, makes you strong. Courage isn't about feeling no fear. It's about feeling it fully and acting anyway. Marcy didn't let fear paralyze her. She let it guide her. And in doing so, she discovered that sometimes fear is the voice of life itself saying, run. Protect yourself. You are worth saving. Another small town. Another mask of safety. In a quiet Maine suburb, there was a mailman everyone adored. Mr. Daniels, always smiling, always gentle. For years, he delivered letters with care, greeting everyone by name. But when a neighbor noticed that her confidential mail was missing, she reported it. Investigators soon discovered that Mr. Daniels had been secretly opening letters, not to steal, but to read, to peek into their private lives. He said he felt lonely, and reading their stories made him feel close to them. It's disturbing, not because of the act itself, but because of what it reveals about the human condition. Evil doesn't always come from hatred. Sometimes it's born from loneliness that festers into obsession. Mr. Daniels wanted connection so badly that he crossed the invisible boundary between empathy and violation. And that's the lesson. Compassion without boundaries can destroy as much as cruelty can. We must care for others, but never lose ourselves trying to fill their voids. Love deeply, yes, but know when love becomes enabling. In Oregon, a mother once faced the unthinkable. Two masked men broke into her home in the middle of the night. Her daughter was only 7. With trembling hands, she hid the girl in a closet, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Don't make a sound." For 14 minutes, she waited in total silence, listening to footsteps move from room to room. Her own heart pounded so loudly she thought it would give her away. But she stayed still. She stayed strong. When the police arrived, the men were caught, and that woman became a symbol of quiet courage. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the silence that saves you. In stillness, she found her power. And yet, horror doesn't always end in darkness. In Georgia, a family lost everything to arson. Their home, their memories, their peace. But when the flames died, their neighbors came together. They built the house again, piece by piece, nail by nail. What began as tragedy became unity. Even in ashes, hope glowed like an ember, refusing to die. Every horror story has an echo of survival inside it, proof that even when evil strikes, it cannot erase goodness. In another town, a man refused to stop searching for his missing wife. Everyone told him to move on, to grieve, to accept, but he couldn't. Years passed, and his relentless search uncovered a serial kidnapper and saved another woman's life. Love gave him strength when reason gave up. That's the power of the human spirit. When love drives you, even the darkest evil cannot break you. Then there was the old woman in California who swore her home was haunted by whispers. Investigators arrived expecting ghosts, but discovered her vents carried voices from nearby homes, conversations carried by air currents. It wasn't supernatural at all, just science misunderstood. It's a reminder that not every shadow hides a monster. Sometimes what terrifies us is simply misunderstood. Seek truth before surrendering to fear, because truth heals and knowledge brings peace. And finally, in a quiet town in California, a stalker terrorized families for weeks. He left strange notes, slashed tires, and lurked in yards. The entire neighborhood was paralyzed with fear. But instead of retreating, they united. They formed watch groups, patrolled together, protected each other's children. Fear turned into strength. When the stalker was caught, that neighborhood didn't fall apart. It became stronger, closer, more alive than ever. Because darkness can break doors, but it cannot break hearts that stand together. Fear is real, but so is faith. The suburbs may hide shadows, but every shadow exists because somewhere a light still burns. These stories remind us that courage isn't born from safety. It has forged in the moments when safety is stolen, and we choose to fight for it anyway. The quiet streets, the still nights, the sound of distant laughter. They remind us that even where evil tries to dwell, goodness is stronger. And when the darkness comes in your home, in your heart, in your life, remember this: light always returns. It may flicker, it may waver, but it never truly dies, because we carry it within us. May the light within us never fade. May the courage to face our fears grow stronger each day. And may we always remember, even in the quiet streets of suburbia, that goodness, vigilance, and love are our truest protection. Amen. Amen.